under the management of Uganda Properties Limited, Uganda's Embassy in Nairobi, Uganda Radio Corporation, and also to share light on the Kenyan Land Amendment Act 2016. Uganda government owns properties in Kenya under 3 categories. The said properties are managed by Uganda Properties Holdings, Uganda Embassy in Nairobi, and Uganda Railways Corporation. The following is the status of the government properties in Kenya. Under the Uganda Properties Holdings in Kenya, we own 23 properties in Kenya, namely in Mombasa. Being a foreign-based country, the properties are owned on leasehold terms and are currently all the properties having running leases. Of the above-mentioned 23 properties, 11 are warehouses, 1 is a carport, 2 office blocks, 3 commercial blocks, and 4 residential houses and 2 yards. All the properties in Mombasa are developed, having running leases, and are also being rented out at competitive rates in Mombasa. All the properties are titled, and Uganda Properties is in custody of the certificates of the titles. The schedule of the assets in Mombasa under the management of UPHL is annex below, which I wish to lay on table after I've read the statement. The second category of properties is under the management of Uganda Railways Corporation. Uganda Railways Corporation owns 3 residential properties in Kenya, that is in Mombasa, Nairobi, and Kisumu. URC in 2018 engaged Uganda Properties Limited to professionally manage 3 properties in Kenya. URC has since handed over the 2 of the properties, 1 in Mombasa and another one in Nairobi. URC is in custody of the ownership documents pertaining to the properties. The schedule of the properties under URC are also attached under Annex B. The properties under the Uganda Embassy in Nairobi. Madam Speaker, I wish to inform this House that there are 3 properties which are managed by the Uganda Embassy in Nairobi. These are official residence of our ambassador, the Chancery, land and building, and the commercial property. The schedule of the assets in Mombasa under Uganda Embassy in Nairobi is also attached under Annex 3. Then I just wish to make a comment on the amendment that was made by the government of Kenya, the Kenya Land Amendment Law 2016, and how it is likely to affect our properties. Kenya government in 2016 enacted a new law, the Land Law Amendment Act 2016, which amended the Kenya Land Act 2002. The said law was assented to on 31st August 2016 and commenced on 21st September 2016. An opinion was sought from the Attorney General on this law and its effect on our properties in Kenya. The Attorney General advised that the law as is does not affect our properties in Kenya. The opinion of the Attorney General is also attached under Annex D. In conclusion, Madam Speaker and colleagues, all the government of Uganda properties are having running leases, and the Land Law Amendment 2016 of the government of Kenya does not affect the current ownership of the properties directly. Colleagues, for the properties whose lease is about to expire, we shall work with the relevant authorities in Kenya to ensure that these leases are renewed. So, Madam Speaker and colleagues, a list of the properties, the 23 properties plus, which are managed by Uganda Properties Limited, and those managed by the Embassy and the Uganda Railways Corporation, is attached here, and I beg to lay, but I just want to assure the House that our properties are in safe hands, they are safe in Kenya, and they are generating income, except 2 properties which are not in good shape, which we are trying also to renovate. I beg to move and also to lay the annexes. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Watkins. Then Onyango, I think I don't raise the issue. Okay.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And thank you, Honorable Minister, for assuring the nation that our property in Mombasa are safe properties. Madam Speaker, I'm asking the Minister to incorporate for submission to let the country know how much in terms of revenue the properties in Mombasa fetch, and then how much the Ghana Property Holding Company remit to the consolidated fund. Madam Speaker, about 2016, Madam Speaker, it occurred that 2 billion Uganda shillings was a collection from the properties. And then when we had an interface with the managers and also took a step further to know how much was transmitted to the consolidated fund, it occurred to us, Madam Speaker, that only 50 million from the 2 billion collection. 2 billion comes from the properties, but only 50 million Uganda shillings find its way on the consolidated fund. So, Madam Speaker, I'm asking you to make a directive to the minister that we should have an aggregated revenue fetched from the properties for maybe about 15 years, and also how much the consolidated fund has been able to receive from the same properties. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
As I invited Onyango, Honourable Minister, I was wondering whether an opinion of the Attorney General of Uganda interpreting the law of Kenya is sufficient. I don't know why it not gets an opinion from the Attorney General of Kenya. Honourable Onyango.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I want to thank the Minister for giving this House assurance about the status of our properties in Kenya. However, Madam Speaker, much as it is true that our properties are there, but the state in which these properties are in, some of them are worrying. They are getting dilapidated. They need renovation. And I think the Minister needs to give us a clear program and a clear way forward on how these properties are going to live for more years, because some of them are really in a worrying state, especially in Mombasa.
Thank you, Honourable Wamai, Lianda, and then Iluko, Noelin, and Ucheno. Okay, we end with you.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
The Chair of Foreign Affairs, okay. Yes, Honourable Wamai.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the Minister has just read the statement, but you have not told us the details. And in Nairobi, we've got a commercial building which is owned by the Uganda Mission. Uganda Mission went to court. You have not told us about the case in the court. And those shopkeepers have refused to move out of the building so that we can carry out the repairs. The building is in a terrible state. Secondly, the ministry had sent in about 10 million shilling, more than 10 million. Can you tell us the exact amount which you withdrew again when the mission wanted to start repairing that building? Have you been to Nairobi? Have you seen the state of that building, how it looks? It's in a terrible state. So what is government doing about that? And I don't know why this Uganda property holding, Madam Speaker, was created. It was just created for people to get money. Because we told them that the property that falls under missionaries in London and all over, it's the missionaries that have got immunity against those properties. So why you put a person here and you form a company to go and be in charge of those properties and have no rights, they have no immunity? That was just wastage expenditure. This was created for people to get jobs, but there are missionaries that would look after those properties. Because when you go to a mission and ask them, where can we get an electrician? Where can we get a plumber? So those missionaries abroad should be under missionaries. And tell us about the property in Nairobi, which is in a terrible state, and why you withdrew that money for the repairs of that building.
Now, honour members, you know, I think members are now going to a general debate. The question which Honourable Onyango raised was whether our properties were safe. He said the lease is about to expire, and they are going to revert to the government of Kenya. That was the question. It's not the general debate on the situation. That's the question they wanted the minister to answer. As our property is safe, that's why I'm saying the Attorney General of Kenya should be the one to give you an opinion. Honourable Lianda, and then Luko, Honourable Otieno, and Walium.
Yes, Madam.
Please focus on the question.
Madam Speaker, mine is as a result of an outcome of the safety of our mission in Nairobi. As Committee of Foreign Affairs, we were in Kenya last week, up to this week. And the most emerging issue which comes is that while there was a clear consent agreement by the government of Uganda and Kenya, we had money that was banked, and this money accumulated an interest of 1 billion Uganda shillings, which was not taken to the consolidated fund. We would like the Minister of Finance to give us a very clear information where is the 1 billion shilling, because the High Commission in Nairobi is very interested to ensure that they would even start renovation with this 1 billion that had accumulated as an interest after banking the other 10 billion. So, Mr. Minister, where is this money?
Honourable, I think you're finished.
Yeah, I finished.
Honourable Katuramu, then I go to Lukor.
Thank you, Honourable colleague, for raising this issue. Right, Honourable Speaker, we know we had litigation with tenants who are occupying our house, Uganda House, in Nairobi. But there was a consent judgment which was delivered here, and as the chairperson Committee of Foreign Affairs, we presented it to the Budget Committee. And the Budget Committee directed that the money that had been allocated and that has been recalled by the Minister of Finance, because it had not been utilized during the legal battle with the tenants. But now that the case has been disposed of, then the chairperson and members of the Budget Committee of Parliament guided that this money should go back. But as Honorable Lianda Kumakech has said, it is true that when this money was put on a retention account, it accrued interest of 1 billion, in which the committee of the Budget Committee advised that this money should be retained in Nairobi to kickstart the process of renovation. Right, Honorable Speaker, that is the information I'm giving, but as far as I know, this money was not retained there, and the renovations have not yet started. That is the information I'm giving.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the issue I wanted to put across regards the security still of our properties. Out of the 23 properties we have in Kenya, Madam Speaker, we have got reliable information that 6 have their leases expiring within the next 6 years. The information we have is the new amended law you alluded to, Madam Speaker, is even a little stringent in as far as renewing leases is concerned. Whereas it's a little bit relaxed in acquiring property, it's very stringent in as far as renewing the leases is concerned. The further information is that nobody, no government official, is bothered to try to see how a negotiation between Uganda and Kenya may proceed in as far as having our property secured and the lease released. We still have the worry that as soon as these 6 years go, we may most likely lose this property. And yet, we are part of the East African community. Why don't we, in the interest of the East African community, the two governments, talk together and see maybe how exception can be reached and these 6 properties be saved? Actually, this is information direct from Uganda, the holding company keeping these properties there. The minister is not telling us that. Thank you very much, Madam.
Now, Noelin, then Otieno, then Walium.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Madam Speaker, last month, as a Committee of Public Accounts Local Government, we were in Nairobi, and we paid a courtesy call to the High Commission, and the information we got, whereas some properties are safe, but they are in a bad state. The Uganda House in Nairobi is in a bad state, and I think it's our responsibility as a country to take care of it. It is in a prime position, prime land, but not in a good state. And Madam Speaker, we also got, just a moment. Madam Speaker, we also got informed that, the embassy where high dignitaries sit, we don't have even a boardroom. And I think some of these we need to attend to. Lastly, Madam Speaker, we were informed that we lose money in the transactions we make. The appropriations, the money we appropriate for the embassy, where it is transferred to Nairobi, and our properties, when they generate money, they have to transfer the money here, and every transaction we incur a cost. The team at the embassy were wondering, isn't it possible, like it is done in other countries, that they get the income there and they would know how to reconcile their records, that we don't have to lose money in all these transfers. They only transfer the difference from the income they generate. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
How about you, no?
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Madam Speaker, I highly doubt and I don't buy the opinion of the Attorney General. Why? Right Honourable Speaker, to begin with, even in the statement of the minister itself, the statement itself clearly shows that this property, our properties, especially those in Mombasa whose lease is about to expire, are not safe. Right Honourable Speaker, allow me to quote what the minister's statement reads. Section 4913 of the new law of Kenya prohibits non-Kenyan citizens or governments other than Kenya to apply for a renewal of lease. This is a statement from the minister himself, saying that the law does not permit even foreign governments, including Uganda is a foreign government. Now, what I expected the Attorney General to tell us in his statement is as to whether, by virtue of being partner states in the East African community, are we qualified as foreign governments, or we are considered as part of East African? These are the things we wanted to hear. But for the Attorney General to come and say, after even giving us this information, and even then, Right Honourable Speaker, the other thing is, the law also bars foreigners, including governments, from owning property within 25 radius from the shores. And our property, the prime property, are within these watershed areas. So it means that much as we know that the law may not apply retrospectively, but it is very clear that once the lease expires, and we have got, it is even listed here, there are 6 properties whose lease is about to expire. Once they expire, it will be very difficult for us, given that there's a new legislation, a new legal regime in Kenya, you cannot renew. And the minister has even stated it here, and this is the opinion of the Attorney General. I don't know why the minister conveniently decided not to read that portion of the statement. And Right Honourable Speaker, what even makes me get worried, we visited as a budget committee, we visited that property. And the information we got was that there has been an attempt to dispose of this property by the Attorney General's chambers on 2 occasions. In Nairobi.
The Attorney General of Uganda?
Of Uganda. Okay. Of Uganda. Right, Honorable Speaker, now with that kind of information in the background, and given the kind of legal opinion the Attorney General is giving us on the surface that our property is safe, when he's very well aware that the property is not safe, and he's not telling us the modalities, what actions they are taking to safeguard this property once the lease expires. Right now, Speaker, that makes me wonder as to whether there's no underhand method going on. They want to keep us in a lull, we sleep, the lease expires, and then the property is exposed. And that's what they are basically after, right now, Speaker.
Then they will buy.
They want to buy it for themselves, using Kenyan agents. They have got agents the other side, so those agents will pose as now Kenyan citizens who will qualify to buy this property, take them up, and then of course for Uganda we shall have lost. As individuals, they will have gained. So, Right Honorable Speaker, I call upon this House, I ask the House not to accept the statement of the Minister and not to be made comfortable to think that our property is safe. Right Honorable Speaker, let me add more information here.
Okay, 1 minute finish, please conclude.
Right Honorable Speaker, the property in Ginger, the one which belongs to this company, the one in Ginger, they had actually succeeded in selling it off. What SAVE does was that the person, they used a fictitious company to buy it. So that's how we say that actually they had actually sold that property in Ginger, the one in Ginger. The one in Nairobi, the one in London, they even arrested the person who was going to attend the court proceeding. The man was arrested here. So that they could, and yet they had signed a memorandum of, no, what they call it, no objection. They had actually consented to the other man to take over the property and sell it off. And Right Honorable Speaker, they were selling off this property at a cost less than what the property generates in 1 month. That's the irony and the danger we are facing, Right Honorable Speaker. So, Right Honorable Speaker, as far as this House is concerned, this House should not take the statement of the Minister. The Attorney General should come here and assure the country that the property is safe.
And I want him to come with the assurance from the Kenya government, from the Attorney General of Kenya. That's what I want to see. Honorable Waliomu. Now, as I invite Honorable Waliomu, join me in welcoming guests from the Zanzibar House of Representatives. They're up there in the gallery. They're members of the Parliamentary Service Commission. I introduce Mr. Idris Juma, the chair of the commission, Mrs. Hamida Kamis, member, Mrs. Makame, member, Mr. Kamis Haji Juma, member, Mr. Usi Jechi Simai, member, Mr. Haida Haji Abdallah, member, Mr. Ali Haji, secretary to the Service Commission, Kamis Silima, Kamis is an officer of the Service Commission, Mr. Omar Amir, the head of Human Resource Division of the House of Representatives of Zanzibar. You are very welcome. Yes, Honorable Waliomu.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I want to thank the Minister for this statement. But Madam Speaker, I think this is not the first time that we are getting the opinion from the Attorney General. For this Parliament, we have got several opinions, and this, at the end of the day, we lose, basing on this on his opinion. So, really, we can't base on the Attorney General's opinion to say that our properties in Kenya, they are safe, unless, as you have decided, that we need to get some confirmation from the Kenyan government. Otherwise, as per now, we need to make sure that our properties in Kenya, they are at stake. We have grabbers. If they are grabbing even our farms here in this country, is being taken. What about the foreigner land?
Honorable Panadol.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Honorable Waliomu, thank you for the information. Right, Honorable Speaker, the reason as to why I wanted to submit, as my colleague was also doing, is just because me, I had the chance of going when by then I was on the Committee of Foreign Affairs, where our chair was that one, Honorable
Katulam. It so happened that there was infighting between the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and that of Trade. In fact, our plot where we are housed in Nairobi, it is at a prime land. And as I talk now, the plot is, I think the Ministry of Foreign Affairs wanted to almost sell the plot under the guise that you see, it was in a dilapidated state. They wanted to demolish everything and then they sell it somewhere. So even the lawyer who was acting on behalf of Uganda had no practicing certificate when they reached in court. So our cause collapsed like that. So the tenants are occupying the house for the last year, 1 year and a half. There is nothing they are remitting. And the last Honorable Speaker.
Where is the house?
Eh?
That building, where is it?
It is in Nairobi.
Which street?
Yes.
Which street?
Just because I was in a rush, I want to give him, but I will bring. Then last Honorable Speaker, when Uganda Airlines was collapsing by then, we had a house in Montreal. Honorable had to take this. By then I was not, by then I was a student. When Uganda Airlines were collapsing, we had a house in Montreal. It is on record that the then ED of Civil Aviation Authority and the current one, together with the Minister of Foreign Affairs, they connived and they sold our house in Montreal. Parliament should get interested in that because we had a big mansion there. But our ambassador, who was by then a delegate at the Civil Aviation Authority and at ICAO, they connived and sold it. Honorable Speaker, let us Parliament interest itself in this and we will come out with very good conclusive results about how they sold our properties. And it is the same hours in Nairobi going in the same line. Because you can't say that it is being occupied by tenants, but it is in a dilapidated state. Foreign Affairs want to sell it. They don't want property holdings to get hold of it. I collapse.
Thank you, Honorable colleague, for that information. Madam Speaker, I think the house is Uganda House in Nairobi. Uganda House in Nairobi. I think this is the house that the Honorable Bernard was referring to.
The one on Moi Avenue?
Yeah, yes, Madam Speaker. Okay. So, Madam Speaker, because these are properties of Uganda, me inclusive, so we need to protect these properties instead of basing on these statements of the minister and the opinion of the Attorney General. Sincerely, for me, I'm happy with the statement, Honorable Minister. But by you concluding that you are assuring us, basing on the opinion of the Attorney General, this is not the first time for the Attorney General to mislead this House. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
So, Honourable Minister, I'm sorry, I am not satisfied. I'm not satisfied with your answer. Okay, you give.
Let me give something, Madam Speaker. There are 2 points. Wait. Madam Speaker.
Please, Honourable Member, please.
Out of the, I didn't read through the schedule of our properties, but if you look at our iPads, most of the properties, actually out of the 23 properties that we have, there are only 5 properties that have a lease of 6 years and below. The rest have 25 years up to 92 years. So the lease is still running. The second point, Madam Speaker, on the issue regarding the collection of resources from these properties and how they are managed, all government money is managed under the Public Finance Management Act. So we collect, put on a consolidated fund, and then we budget. But also, we have an officer of this House, the Auditor General, who reports to us every financial year on how this money is collected and how it is used. So it is important that also members know that there is that system, because we cannot debate transaction by transaction when we have an officer who really handle it. Information on which one?
No, Nwagaba?
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Minister and Right Honorable Speaker. The information I wanted to give the Minister is that whereas properties managed by Uganda Property Holdings Limited are by and large out of danger and do generate revenue to government, The biggest problem is with commercial properties under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Because like the property in Nairobi under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, which has not generated revenue for the last 2 years or so, because although government of Uganda claims that those properties have diplomatic immunity, it is not true. That particular property, the tenants, the property is dilapidated. The ministry wanted to evict the tenants to renovate it. The tenants went to court and obtained an injunction, and for the last 2 years, they are seated in the property without generating any revenue. The other property was in Brussels, which was dilapidated. It was condemned and subsequently demolished because Foreign Affairs could not renovate the property. So in my view, if this House is to take a decision, it should invest all our commercial properties into that arm of government that manages properties commercially. But the Minister of Foreign Affairs is totally doing nothing. That's the information I wanted to give.
So lastly, Madam Speaker, this, I took some time to read through this statement and work on it last night. I would beg that probably you say that you are not satisfied with maybe the opinion of the Attorney General, but from the Minister of Finance, we have already prepared a good statement, Madam Speaker, to say that you are not satisfied with it would be discouraging on our side.
No, Honourable Minister, I want to thank you for the quick work you did. You did a good job, but I'm not satisfied that the Attorney General of Uganda can casually interpret the laws in Kenya. We want an assurance from the Attorney General of Kenya on this issue. Because it's the law in Kenya, it's not a law here. Yes, yes, Honourable.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, like you have said, the law in Kenya is also very clear on this matter. But we can continue to own land as Ugandans on lease. The question should be, why they wait for such a long time that leases even reach a time to run out and no one follows? Secondly, let the certificates of title be presented to this august House, because you may never know. Some properties may even be having encumbrances. Thirdly, you know the law of leases is that someone should follow the conditions. Like Honorable Nwaga has clearly stated, when you run down the properties, then city authorities do re-entries because the properties are not habitable, they are not developed, and the reason is clearly because people fear accountability. The Auditor General in their report, in his report recently claimed and stated that Uganda Property Holdings and its board are not fully functioning or performing their duties. And it's intentional. Therefore, Right Honourable Speaker, we welcome your indulgence in this matter for the purpose of saving Ugandans from losing these properties, but I would like to tell you this is intentional to flout the conditions of the leases, and after that, properties be taken by Ugandans in a given cycle. Thank you.
Okay, final.
Yeah, thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. I am speaking here as the leader of the opposition. I stand in for the leader of the opposition. He is for some special engagement. Okay. Now, Right Honourable Speaker, first, this particular issue about property, public property in Kenya. And then, secondly, the general principle of the protection of public property in Uganda. Thirdly, I would like to tell you, Madam Speaker, that there is a detailed report coming. One of our committees chaired by the opposition went there. The Committee on Government Assurances and Implementation was there in Kenya, and their report is coming. You will see the details. Overall, there is poor management of public property. As he attested to by members here, that the state of our property in Kenya, particularly in Mombasa, are not in good shape. That's one. But the question we should ask is, how did this property deteriorate day by day, month by month, year by year to the state in which we are, when there are people using them? What is the policy of government for protection of public property? Are individuals held responsible? Is there some kind of checklist when somebody is leaving office that, okay, you are leaving, what did you find here when you entered? How did you use it? And can this person be held responsible for damages during the time of occupancy and use? Thirdly, Madam Speaker, now we come to the particular case here, that I associate myself with the dissatisfaction of the members, including the one of the Speaker, about this report. And we would like to ask the question as the opposition, where is the asset register of the Republic of Uganda, where all the assets of Uganda must be documented? And are these assets on that register? Right, Honorable Speaker, we demand here that in addition to the minister coming here with a better information, closing the gaps which are in this particular presentation, we would like the minister and the government to bring to you, Madam Speaker, the asset register of the Republic of Uganda. What do we have? Where is it? How are the status? Because this problem of connivance of government officials to grab public property is widespread. In Kenya, we have heard about this. In Uganda, you have seen it, farms and buildings, many things. So we pray that Ugandans should wake up, this parliament should wake up to secure the public property of the Republic of Uganda. Thank you very much.
Okay, Honourable Minister, I think it's important that the fears of the people of Uganda are allayed by you tabling here a letter from the Attorney General of Kenya confirming that this law will not apply to our property. How long shall we give you? Because it's urgent.
Madam Speaker, if you can use this opportunity also to inform the acting leader of opposition that every financial year the Auditor General audits the books of accounts of the government of Uganda, and he actually tells us through the asset register the assets of the country. So it's important that but we can also lay it on the floor of this house so that the leader of opposition, you get familiar with operations of government. The second point, Madam Speaker, we are requesting for 2 weeks. Since we have to reach Kenya, I think it would be better to give us 2 weeks so that we come back and report to you. But I also want to thank you for the advice you have given us. We thought that the Attorney General of Uganda was sufficient. Now that this applies to the law of Kenya, we accept the advice you have given us. So we shall follow it up. In 2 weeks, we shall come back to the House. Thank you.
Okay. Honourable members, in the meantime, the Committee on Foreign Affairs should take an interest in this report. You can continue reviewing it, and then you can establish what the minister has said. But Minister, the property of Transocean in Mombasa, you should check whether it has not been sold. It was sold. So, check an interest. Okay, Graham.
Madam Speaker.
Next item.
Madam Speaker.
Honourable Tamuhira. Yes, Honourable Member.
Madam Speaker, I thank you for your guidance on this matter, but I had wanted to make a very short comment on this matter. First, I want to assure this House that these properties in Mombasa are properties of the government of Uganda, 100% share capital by the government of Uganda, with an appointed board of directors, and therefore I assure this House that no single person can come and buy that property from the government of Uganda. Now, secondly, Madam Speaker, what I had not been aware of is the expiry of leases of some properties. And this is very crucial that it should be investigated so that we have our property leases renewed as fast as possible, right, Honorable Speaker, because that's when we shall have assurance that the properties will remain ours. But we shall undertake this, Honorable Speaker, and report back to Parliament.
Thank you. Next item. 3.2.
Item 3.2, statement by Minister.
I don't see the Minister here. East Africa is not here. Now, I think I want to allow Honorable Tamuhira to inform the House about something from the Education Committee.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I raise under rules of procedure, Rule 215(2). Madam Speaker and honorable colleagues, on Wednesday 20th, I made a request to extend our time within which we should present our report as a Committee of Education concerning the resolution directing that the committee to investigate the allegations of sexual abuse of students by security personnel and the allegations of mismanagement and abdication of duty by the university management, that is Makerere University. Madam Speaker, there were, after making this request, there were some issues that came from some members. I'd like to clarify and justify that the reason why we made that request is that after holding a series of meetings, we found that the matter has a wide scope, and in particular, where we had a challenge is where we failed to get the students that were allegedly abused, sexually abused. They could not show up. We have made contacts. We are trying to follow up the matter. But as of now, Madam Speaker, we have made a final schedule of our meetings. And we hope by 5th of December, we shall have concluded the investigations and be ready to report by 10th of December. Madam Speaker, with these justifications, I beg through you that the House allows us to extend time not later than 10th of December. I beg to move, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker, since the matter the chair is talking about is very sensitive, and we also need to further consult our constituents, I think I would agree with him that we extend time because we have to consult our voters on this issue because it's a complex matter. So I want to agree with him.
Okay, honourable members, we set up that, we asked that committee to handle that because we needed information in order to guide us in the way forward. So let's give them the extra time they need. The report on the 10th of December. Thank you. Now, honourable members, I'd forgotten to inform you that the chair of the Uganda Land Commission, the Honourable Viencha, lost her husband this morning, Dr. Viencha. I think Barry will be tomorrow? Yes, in Hoima. So she was a member of this house. She's the chair of the Land Commission. Let's stand up for a minute of silence in order for Dr. Viencha.
May you so rest in eternal peace.
Okay, I don't see the Minister for East Africa. Can we go to 3.3?
Item 3.3, statement by Minister on the commemoration of the International Day for Persons with Disabilities, 3rd December 2019 in Iganga District.
Honourable Minister.
Right, Honourable Speaker, colleagues, honourable members of Parliament, I raise to brief you about the forthcoming commemoration of the International Day for Persons with Disabilities, scheduled to take place on the 3rd of December 2019 at Iganga Municipality Council Primary School, Iganga Municipality District Local Government. Right Honorable Speaker, the purpose of the parliamentary statement is to provide information to Parliament regarding this year's International Day for Persons with Disabilities, scheduled to take place on the 3rd of December 2019 in Iganga, at Iganga Primary School. This day was proclaimed in 1992 by the United Nations General Assembly, Resolution 47/3, to create awareness on the rights and needs for persons with disabilities. The International Day for Persons with Disabilities provide a platform for government and stakeholders to take stock of the achievements made in the serving of persons with disabilities, identifying their challenges encountered, and come up with resolutions on how to solve those challenges. The celebrations are also in line with the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, and which Uganda ratified in 2008, whose Article 8 on awareness raising obliges state parties to ensure awareness raising on the rights of persons with disabilities. Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, the International Day for the Person with Disabilities has been celebrated since 1993. However, the day has never been gazetted. The Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development every year works in collaboration with other stakeholders to ensure that the day is a success. The theme for this year's celebrations is promoting disability inclusive programming for an accessible future. This theme means that there should be disability mainstreaming in all programs to ensure that everybody has the same opportunities to participate in every aspect of life to the best of their abilities and desires. Government and all stakeholders should work together towards a future where barriers that stand in the way of persons with disabilities no longer exist. As is always the practice, Right Honorable Speaker, a number of activities have been lined up to form part of the celebrations. And these include assessments for the various forms of disabilities, and this would be done a week before the D-Day, so that activity is already ongoing. Distribution of assistive devices. We'll have radio talk shows to promote understanding of disability issues and mobilize for a dignity, right, and well-being of persons with disabilities. We shall have a health camp and a disability dialogue that will take place on the eve of the event. Right Honorable Speaker, as part of the activities on the International Day for Disabilities, the Chief Guest will launch the guidelines on a special grant for the persons with disabilities. The Special Grant Program for Persons with Disabilities is an initiative by government to address their livelihood and income by providing an opportunity to enhance financial inclusion, promote entrepreneurship, and effective participation in economic development of the country. I therefore wish to take this honor and opportunity to thank Parliament for increasing this fund, which was earlier in the budget stated at 2.9 billion shillings, but Parliament was able to raise it to 5 billion shillings this financial year. I want to take this opportunity to thank Parliament for that increase. I'd also like to take this opportunity to invite you, colleagues, to the celebration scheduled to take place in Iganga District Local Government on Tuesday, 3rd December 2019, and also request you to support the celebrations in every way possible. The purpose of this statement, therefore, is to inform your colleagues and to request you to appreciate the importance of promoting an understanding of the disability issues, and mobilize support for the dignity, rights, and well-being of persons with disabilities, and to ensure their inclusion and full participation in the development agenda. I also wish to request that you take note that the theme for this year's International Day for Persons with Disabilities celebration is promoting disability inclusive programming for an accessible future, and the international venue will be Iganga District. And also to take note that the Right Honorable Second Prime Minister of the Republic of Uganda will officiate at the international celebrations of persons with disabilities this year on 3rd of December. Please accept my invitation to the national celebrations at Iganga Municipality Primary School, Iganga Municipality Council on the 3rd of December 2019, beginning at 9:30, and my appeal for your usual support to your districts, constituencies, to participate in these celebrations. I thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Let me invite with that Honorable Karunji, 3 minutes. Then Kilak.
Yes.
And Sentongo.
I can be seen, no problem.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Oh, thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity. I want to thank the Minister for this wonderful statement, and I want to thank the government so far, what has been done as far as the persons with disabilities are concerned. At least they've tried. Now we have leaders, there is this fund, but Madam Speaker, my people of Kanungu have been asking me that where is this money? They hear there is money, there is this fund for PWDs, but in Kanungu we can't know where it is, and I believe maybe there are some other colleagues who don't know how this money has been distributed. We hope it will not be like SAGE. And my people, Madam Speaker, would be happy if the Minister maybe gives us light on how this money has been, distributed in the nation, because like my neighbor in Rukunjiri, Kabare, it's like there is nothing. So, and I would like our people also to benefit. And Madam Speaker, it has been a great challenge in my district, and I believe maybe in other colleagues' areas of jurisdiction. We don't have schools for PWDs, and we have so many children of PWDs. I don't know why the Ministry of Education does not interest itself in at least giving every constituency a school which can cater for these people, because there are very many. If you go, it's because we have not encouraged the parents to always bring these children outside, but there are so many in people's homes not being respected there. So because they don't even have the schools, their rights are really not catered well for. And so I would pray that we look at that issue of having schools for PWDs, at least in each constituency, and also, Madam Speaker, this fund to be equally distributed. However, I would like to have a clear explanation on how this money has benefited the people of Kanungu. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, I would like to thank the Honourable Minister for the report. But Honourable Minister, as we commemorate the Day for People with Disabilities, you should not be following where Honourable Elizabeth has ended. The only school for disabilities in northern Uganda, the I school, that is Gulu I school, and the school is almost dead as we talk now. Right Honourable Speaker, as the government, we need to see the way of supporting the schools of disability. So, Honorable Minister, you have to take it very seriously. Let Gulu High School, the school helping disabilities, let it rise up again. Second, Right Honorable Speaker, the way the disabled persons are living in our districts is quite appalling. Many of them are being rejected by their families. Many people look at disabled persons like someone who is useless. I would like to find out if the government has got a plan to help persons with disability. For example, let people with disability be given at least a decent accommodation. Government can distribute, even if only 10 iron seats, to help people with disability in the villages. Let them have somewhere to live in. Many of them live in a very bad buildings. Their situation is so bad, and people normally underlook them. So, Right Honorable Speaker, we need to take it very seriously. Thirdly, Right Honorable Speaker, persons with disabilities, those who require wheelchairs, I do not know the policy of providing wheelchairs to those people. Many of them, like in my district, some of them are 30 years, 40 years, they cannot afford to buy wheelchairs. Can government come up with some fund to procure wheelchairs to our people with disability? Let them move, let them visit churches, let them go to schools, but many of them are ever confined within the family. Right Honorable Speaker, we need to look at that properly. And finally, as my colleague put it, the funds for people with disability, the PW funds. Many times and many years we have been hearing that the government has allocated some funds for people with disability. But in my district, Amoro, we have never seen that money, and they are ever asking us. Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker, and I pray that what I mentioned should be catered for by the government. Thank you.
Honorable Sentongo. Sentongo Akelo. I'm coming.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. And honorable members, I would like also to thank the Minister for the statement and for the invitation to the event that is not very different on the other many events that we are invited to. My concern, Right Honorable Speaker, also like my colleagues have alluded to, is about the fund. This fund, just if I go back home in Chotera, I've never seen that fund anywhere. Even when we discuss at the local council, they don't mention anything to do with the fund for the people with the disabilities. And they are unfortunate that when the operation wealth creation is going around and giving things out, they are told you have a fund as people with disabilities, and they neither benefit from the other side, neither on the side that they're expected to benefit. So it's critical that the minister comes out transparently to let us know which districts are supposed to benefit and how much money, and if all of us have to benefit, we must know, so that when our people contact us, we can direct them where to go and to know how much they can get. The other issue is about wheelchairs. People keep calling us, help me with the wheelchair. We have a child here, cannot move. We have another here, cannot move. And when they go to facilities in the health centers, they are also not having user-friendly facilities within the facilities. So that one, Honorable Minister, you need also to consider that, so that people with disabilities can access services as much as the others do. Lastly, I would like to know, when you say you requested us as members of parliament to help you make sure that people with disabilities are represented at Yigang, I would like to know what you meant. Do you have a program? Have you set out transport? Have you selected who is coming from the district to come to Iganga? Or do you expect honorable members of parliament to hire costers to go and mobilize and bring people to Yigang? Because they have to be there, they have to be represented, but don't expect as members of parliament to do the business or to do the response that you want us to do, because we have a lot to cover. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Franca.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I want to
thank the Minister also very much for the statement and for organizing the program. Madam Speaker, definitely all members of Parliament do support the plight of the people with disabilities. And this is manifested in the fact that each and every time this House debates matters under education and other sectors, they usually debate on matters of urging government to make sure that all government facilities have disability-friendly facilities. And therefore, Madam Speaker, the theme for this year's celebration is so timely. It's really so spot on. And I would like to urge the Minister, after the celebration, to sit down with the technical people in the ministry, do for us a proper planning, and come up with really something that will convince this Parliament to ensure that in the next financial year, we have a special program, at least to take care of people with disabilities. Because, Madam Speaker, it is very alarming when you go to certain schools, you will hardly see facilities that will aid the proper learning of children with disability. Let alone issues, for instance, like ramps, simple things like ramps to access a classroom for those who are not able to walk. Even those alone are not there. At toilet facilities, you will not see facilities that are friendly to children with disability. And I would like to urge, as you plan, Madam Speaker, Madam Minister, as the ministry plans for this, make sure that you incorporate in the need for all schools in this country to have teachers that have the knowledge to handle children with disability. I remember some years when I was young, there used to be teachers, there used to be teacher training institutes to teach teachers, some teachers who are interested in special needs. My own late mother was a teacher of special needs. So really I would like to urge the ministry to plan for this, and we make sure that each and every school in this country has teachers of special needs to take care of children that are not able to access education through because of the disadvantages that they have. And so this way I think we shall be able to move on properly. Finally, Madam Speaker, the special grants for people with disabilities is little known about. One time, in one of the sub-counties in Agago district, in Lapono sub-county, as I was addressing other matters and informing my communities of what Parliament has been doing, I was shocked by a person with disability. He was called Odong Zaire. He asked me that, my member of Parliament, I want you to go and ask the ministry that is in charge of our affairs when they will start bringing down celebrations of this day of commemorating the Day of People with Disabilities here in our district. So we want to know whether funds are also allocated in our districts, so that even if the celebrations are elsewhere, every district also commemorates this. The way Women's Day is celebrated, Youth Day is celebrated, and so on and so forth. They ask me such, such questions. And they also ask where they can access funds that will, such funds called special grants. So it is good that the minister today spoke about it, Madam Speaker. We would like to get clarity on such funds, and so that we are able to, as we talk to our people, also be able to let them know about how to access and the amounts. With this, I thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity.
Mpuga, then Atiku, then I come this side. Okay, Mpuga, Atiku, Abala, then I come this side.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker, and I'd like to thank the Honourable Minister for the statement, and I want to associate with the well-reasoned submissions of my colleagues on this subject. Right Honourable Speaker, before Parliament, there is an amendment bill on matters of the disabled, and I would like to to invite colleagues to closely monitor this amendment bill. It is trying to particularize some of the issues members are discussing. We need to closely monitor the contents that we can properly mainstream this subject matter. Right, Honourable Speaker, two issues for me are pertinent on this subject. One is education. I am yet to appreciate how the ministry particularizes disability, because learning disabilities for the disabled are multifaceted. We have the blind, we have the dumb, we have the physically disabled. And you discover that the honourable member submitted, we do not have schools dedicated to these learning challenges, and it's a problem which worsens the disability situation. For example, in Greater Masaka, the only school you find there is owned by the Daughters of Mary, the sisters, the Wanda sisters. And it's very expensive to access, and you cannot blame them because they are hardly teachers or facilities provided by government. So I would like to invite the minister and government to think through, apart from celebrations and sloganeering, we need to particularize the needs of the disabled. And education is one of the key issues where this parliament could help the minister resolve. For example, Honourable Speaker, why would a PWD suffer to look for school fees? One of the reasons why we have government is to take care of these specific, human challenges, including disability. I would like to imagine that when the bill comes before this House, we would particularly discuss the role of government and compel government to legislate to fully take care of the needs of the disabled. They are our people, and we really need to own up to the challenge through legislation and appropriation and solve some of their living challenges. Right, Honourable Speaker. Right, Honourable Speaker, the last one from me is to ask of the minister and government to again particularize basic facilities like wheelchairs, like the Honourable Member submitted. I am very sure that at a particular stage, a community can tell that this person is physically impaired. Can we, for example, at a particular stage require of a government, a local government at any one level, to make provision annually to take care of people that have been declared disabled at a particular stage, and it's known that they are under obligation to make provision so that this hankering and gambling about their facilities is once and for all solved. Right, Honourable Speaker, as to submit.
Honourable Tiku. Honourable members, I don't know whether it's not time to ask the Auditor General to audit that sector to see whether we are compliant with the conventions in the schools, in the hospitals.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. I want to thank the Minister for bringing this motion and also congratulate the country for having ratified the statute. Madam Speaker, the issue of people living with disabilities is a reality, and I want to remind members that all of us are candidates of disability. Madam Speaker, having said that, the issue of funding to the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development, where we have very many important sections. We have the disabled persons, we have the children, we have the youth, we have workers, women, elderly. Madam Speaker, I don't know what informed the government to bundle all these very critical persons under one ministry. As chairperson for Uganda Parliamentary Forum for Children, we actually, in the motion for which I sought permission yesterday, we are moving to have a ministry for children, youth, children, music, sports and culture alone, as a standalone. Because there are many issues in there. We know that the population of this country at the moment, we are, first of all, Uganda has the youngest, I think the youngest population in the world. Now, we cannot leave this big chunk of population unattended for in terms of resources and personnel. Madam Speaker,
as we go to Iganga to commemorate the Disability Day, we have always had challenges when this particular day is being celebrated. We get requests for transporting the people with disability from Arua to whichever location where these celebrations are taking place. And that rings to how much money we allocate for this ministry. One of the representatives at the back there, the chair of Foreign Affairs Committee, was telling me they actually need also a ministry. So meaning that there are issues that need to be given attention as government. People with disabilities are indeed, if you go to other countries, they're given they're given resources. They're given attention in terms of the structural establishment. I have a brother in Arua who had to take government to court in order to provide access to all the buildings in the country. So must we go to the extremes to be able to guarantee the rights, the welfare of the people living with disability in this country? So I think as we go to Iganga, these are some of the key issues that we need to bring to light as a country and reflect upon, so that we provide ample facilities for our people who are disabled to enjoy themselves in this country. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Abala, then Honorable Asamo, Honorable Bumba, Babadiri. Let's start with those three first.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I want to thank the Minister for the report, for the statement. The statement has been very clear. And I want just to mention some few things as we plan to go to Iganga. Number one, Madam Speaker, as you all know, the funding for schools in this country is a big challenge. And in Ngora specifically, we have Ngora School for the Deaf. Only the deaf people are the ones who are there. Only deaf. And they basically have specific challenges that government needs to address. In Isoroti at Madera, we have a school for the blind. And for them, when it comes to what they are supposed to use, in most cases, they are unable, and some of them drop out of school. And that's why I want the minister who is here, who is telling us there's going to be a grant. I wish such a grant would go to such schools and support those areas. For example, like in those schools, basically schools in Kampala here, wherever the school is located, those should be the areas we should be focusing. Not, for example, for us to say we are giving this to the other group, this to the other group. At the end of the day, those who are supposed to benefit will not benefit from that. Number two, Madam Speaker, this is one of the public holidays, very, very important, the public days. And however, last year on the 19th of this very month, Madam Speaker, we're commemorating International or World Toilets Day. World Toilets Day at around at the Hotel Africana, and nobody made a statement about issues of toilets in this country. Nobody. And yet at the same time, you know, over almost 20-something% of Ugandans don't use pit latrines in this country. And nobody made a statement. Today, the minister has made a statement talking about disability. I don't know why, when it comes to toilets, they fear talking about this because it is toilets. And yet, at the same time, it's a serious matter, Madam Speaker. That's why a lot of problems come because of that type of arrangement. That's why I want the government to know that the very way we attach importance to other areas, we must also attach importance to toilets. Because now you look at, for example, all over 4.2 billion people do not have actual adequate toilets. 4.4 billion and 4.2. That's where the problem, Madam Speaker. Number three, Madam Speaker, I want to request the ministry to operationalize the policy on disability when it comes to constructing buildings. If you go around all our buildings in the city here and in the countryside, they don't provide ramps. When it comes to movement of the disabled people, it is a big problem. And that's why as we go there, I want the ministry here to tell me why they are not enforcing such a policy in Uganda. because it's something very, very serious. And then two, I want them to tell me how many buildings or how many houses have they stopped from being completed because they have not followed this law? Because this is something very, 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 very serious. Madam Speaker, I also want to say, which is my last 2 points. Number one is that, like for the teachers who are teaching these children, they normally have specific challenges. And sometimes, like some of them who are even, those who have retired even, Madam Speaker, for example, for the case of those in Ngora, they have not been paid their gratuity, they have not been paid their pension, and that's where something that's very, very serious, Madam Speaker, I want to raise. Finally, Madam Speaker, the elderly, as we go there, the disabled, old men and women, those old ones, in some areas, for example, like Ngora, they are not benefiting from Museja at all. I'm happy the minister who has brought this report here, or this statement here, is actually in that docket. I want her to tell me why they are discriminating against the elderly people living with disability of Ngora and not benefiting from Musej. I thank you.
Honorable Samo, honorable members, talking about toilets, on Saturday I was in Wujiri. I went to Kapianga sub-county. They have a big declaration that in that sub-county there is no open defecation. They say everybody has a toilet. I found that very exciting. That the whole of Kapianga, that everybody has a toilet. And the people whip you if you don't have a toilet. The citizens themselves deal with you if you don't have a toilet. Honorable Samo.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. I also want to thank the Minister for giving us this statement. Right Honourable Speaker, first of all, I want to appreciate you because you have been trying in your own way to support people with disabilities, people with albinism. Just over the week, we were seeing those blind people, a family of 68 people who are blind, and he needed help, and you were able to go to that bush and see them. Maybe we need to extend to the other government agencies. Right Honourable Speaker, when the House is debating, I find that there's not much information about disability in this Parliament. And I want to pray that maybe at a later stage we bring a detailed paper to give people information about disability issues. For example, in government of Uganda, we have a quota given under the students' affirmative action to get to the university. We have 60 positions. But how they get there is another issue. Sometimes you find that when it comes to the course allocation, the Joint Admission Board decides the courses for the students with disability, which is very disappointing when it comes to that, whereas we appreciate what they do. Madam Speaker, I also want to say that we have 45,000 leaders of people with disabilities, right from the village up to Parliament. But this structure is redundant, nobody uses it. 45,000 disabled leaders, from the village up here. 45,000. Because we are 12.5 of the population of Uganda. Madam Speaker, whenever government is doing programs, this theme here is saying promoting disability inclusive programming for accessible future. I always tell people we don't need special programs. We need to be included. We are part of the programming. But you find that when people are doing their work, they forget about disabled people. And no wonder we are not even sure of what happens. I want for some little light on the special grant. I was whispering to Honorable Saida Bumba. She was the minister by then when the special grant was put in place. Government used to give us 3 billion. This money is little, but it goes to all the local governments and is managed by the Office of the Community Development Officer. And that grant is decided by a small committee and given to PWDs as groups. The district councillors are aware of this money. Unfortunately, Madam Speaker, in my committee, I realized when we moved around to ask about this grant, even my members of parliament who are in my committee, we are not aware. They were asking, Chair, is this money there? Because I would ask the DCDO, can I see how many groups you have supported? So they were shocked. So I think we need to draw a paper, and then we give people a lot of this information. Right, Honourable Speaker, the issue of wheelchairs. People with disabilities have been left to other funders, and wheelchairs are given without assessment. It's the role of the Minister of Health to do assessment, because some wheelchairs can add you disability, some assistive devices can add you a disability, But because you have no choice, you just go picking anything that comes from a different church. So I want to think that from different people who think they can give us. So government has not taken keen interest. Our orthopedic workshops are not funded to the level of supporting people with disabilities. Madam Speaker, the other issue is the attitude. You know, there's a big negative attitude among implementers, among people, among our own parents. You know, that's why we remain going to special schools, having special programs, because under the WEP program, under the youth livelihood, the policy is very clear, include people with what? Disabilities. But when it comes to inclusion, they say, how do we include that one? I think that person cannot work. Why do you judge us by the structure of my body? Judge me by my capacity. But if somebody says, now how do you move? How do you do this? You are blind. But I want to appreciate some of the institutions, Madam Speaker, who have taken people. There's a young man in Standard Chartered who manages a whole department. He's blind, but he knows everything in the department, whereas the other members are looking for information. For him, already has the information. So we need to appreciate that some disabled people are really up on the game. And Madam Speaker, I want to add my voice to welcome people to Iganga district. Iganga is my constituency for Eastern Region. Come and see how the disabled will demonstrate. Some of you look at disabled and look at maybe the very poor ones, but we have disabled who are really, really up the game. And we can dance, we can march, we can do everything. Producing is not an issue. We do even that one. So I want to thank you. Madam Speaker, Honorable Musa Echweru is harassing me. Honorable Musa Echweru is harassing me. So I don't know what he was asking as my brother, but he knows that I have children. so he knows it. So, Madam Speaker, I want to say that there are some laws which have come to Parliament. I want to thank the Parliament. For example, the Building Control Act. We brought issues of accessibility. It is only that it is not yet implemented. For example, Madam Speaker, you have given us special parking in this Parliament, but you find a honorable member of Parliament who looks very healthy, comes to park on that park where they'll put a wheelchair. He parks there and he walks away and tells Askari, I don't care, I can also be disabled. Honestly. That's the reason I'm saying we need a lot of awareness in this Parliament, and we always come and find our parking full. There's a reason we are given that parking. But I really want to give the members here that please, in some countries you can be taken to court for parking yourself in an area which is not supposed to be. Okay.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker and colleagues. I think the information I want to give you that there's another form of disability, which is intellectual disability. So when you see someone parking in your space, maybe someone is suffering from that type of disability. Thank you.
I want to thank you, but I think the intellectual disability, according to the people who are in this Parliament, nobody has registered under it. So the other ones are written, they are saying Eastern Region, Western Region, female like that. But you come and park. So intellectual is not yet in this House registered, Honorable Miru. Thank you for the information. Right, Honorable Speaker, I also want to say that as we move to celebrate this day, let it not be a celebration. We need to look at the SDGs, and I want to add my voice to you that we need an audit. Since the government of Uganda started supporting people with disabilities, and I want to recognize that it's the NRM government who has brought us on board. Can we cross-check and see whether people with disabilities are moving forward, or there are other issues which are there as gaps, and see how we can fulfill the gaps. But I want to appreciate that there's something that has been done, and I testify to that. Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker, and I wish everybody good travel to Iganga. Thank you so much.
As I invite Honorable Saida, I want to really urge the members of Parliament to be disciplined. If you find a sign there, PWD, don't park there. Please. The other thing, honour members, in the present Disability Act, there's a provision that if a company employs people with disabilities, they get a tax incentive. But I don't know how many companies have actually done it and applied for incentives, because it's there in the law. Honorable Saida Bumba, and then Babadiri.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. I would also like to add my voice in thanking the Minister for that statement. Right Honorable Speaker, I will start off with the fund. This fund was created in 2009, and this was in an effort to help the people who are physically challenged to access funding for their small projects. And that followed an abuse of the policy which government had been put there to the employers who provide providing incentives to the employers who were employing people who are physically challenged. Because what they were doing, they were drawing that they were getting that tax facility, but in exchange, they were giving very low level jobs. In fact, at that time, most of the telephone booths were full of people with disabilities. And this is what those people are using to get that facility. When we realized that abuse, we said, let's put up a fund so that they can also create their own jobs. But Madam Speaker, I'm disappointed that this fund has not served the purpose. First, it is too small. It was created when the dollar rate was 1,500. And now when the dollar rate is almost 4,000 shillings, it is still it has gone up by only 40%, which does not match the level of inflation. And we all know that people who are physically challenged, to do something, they require more funds than an able-bodied person. And for that matter, Madam Speaker, for this fund to be useful and to serve the purpose for which it was created, it should be increased, at least to about 10 billion shillings. It's still to be a token, but it will be a good starting point, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, my other concern is on access, not only physical access. Okay, the building law is in process, the policy is in place, but it's not being implemented, and nobody cares to enforce this very good policy. We see so many new buildings in Kampala, all of them full of stairs, without easy access to people with disability. Can we ask government, the responsible ministry, to ensure that this building requirement is complied with, so that our children, brothers and sisters who have physical problems can access these buildings? There is also the denial.
Former Minister of Gender, 1 minute.
Madam Speaker, access to services. There are so many, in fact, in most of our courts, you don't find sign language interpreters. And even at elections, they are not there. There are no special facilities. When you go to hospitals, there are no people to assist these people with disability. And Madam Speaker, when it comes, because these are also human beings, sometimes they are also in conflict with the law. When these people are in conflict with the law, they are locked up with people who are physically okay, and they are seriously abused. These people need special facilities in case they are in conflict with the law, so that they are not abused by those they find in prisons. The last one, Madam Speaker, is that there are very few disability centers in this country. Very few. I don't know how many people have assisted in my constituency to take their children to Madeira. And it's so far away. I don't know, government is creating so many schools. Why don't they increase on their disability centers? And especially those which are malfunctional. Madam Speaker, there is a young man in my constituency who has approached your office. In fact, one time, he even invited you when he was launching the
the program to set up a multi-purpose, a multi-function disability center in Chiwoko, my home area. They have offered land, they have done all the architectural drawings, and they want in some little money as a commitment for government for donors to come in. The donors are asking them how much their government is putting in so that they can put in matching funds. Madam Speaker, I want to pray that you assist this group to access the seed capital from our government so that they can attract donor funding. The young man is Ronald Lukwago. I've seen the title and he's so ready to go. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and I would like to wish the people who are physically challenged very good celebrations in Iganga. Good luck. Thank you.
Honorable Babadiri, then Honorable Safia, Nyamatama, Babadi, Ajuman.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I would like to thank the Minister for bringing this statement on the Day of Persons with Disability. Madam Speaker, I would like to thank the Ministry for yearly supporting our day. And though they contribute small, but at least there is always something on the 3rd of December. And I would like to invite all the members, all people who can go there to see what disabled people can do, how many there are. Many of us think that we are very few and we are doing nothing. But come to that day and you will see what people with disabilities can do. Madam Speaker, you are talking of the theme is mainstreaming people with disability in the programs. Madam Speaker, you cannot be mainstreamed if you are not rehabilitated. People with disability will lose some kind of abilities, and those abilities must be rehabilitated. For example, I've lost sight, but I must learn how to move before I can participate. A person who is physically handicapped must have a wheelchair, must have crutches before they can move. But when you talk of rehabilitation in Uganda here, you are talking of the regional rehabilitation centers, which are only regionally and very few. They take only youth for giving skills, but they forget that a person who has become disabled newly needs to be counseled, needs to be rehabilitated, needs to be given new skills before he can do. Many disabled people commit suicide. For example, these accidents which is claiming lives of people, many people are left disabled, but they are at home just worried, they are not counseled, they are not giving rehabilitation. I would like to urge the Ministry of Gender to include counseling, rehabilitation of newly disabled persons in these centers, and also establish more centers for rehabilitation.